Remember that the transitions between PowerPoint slides are there to help you maintain a rhythm and cadence to your presentation. There are some that are rather silly that you should probably stay away from, such as random bars and fall over. While these have a place and time, whenever you're giving a presentation in class, usually you should stick to the more professional ones, such as morph, fade, flash, and cover and uncover. These will help you maintain a good rhythm and professionality to your presentations. Right now I'm going to go ahead and create a few more slides so that I can show you some design principles and ways that you can improve your PowerPoints, making it so that your class can fully understand what you're trying to convey by reading the text and by listening to you at the same time. As you can see, I've added some slides to the PowerPoint we were working on. And this PowerPoint would be good for a short presentation. It has lots of information. It would guide you through being able to speak to the class. But for those that might not be quite so interested, or those in the back of the room that might not be able to see it so well, the black text on white background with small images is just not the most interesting. As you can see on the right, PowerPoint will automatically suggest to you design elements that would spice up your presentation and make it easier to read. However, you can also go up to the Design tab in the ribbon and pick a template. Like I said, you can pick a template before you even create the PowerPoint, but a good practice would be to create the PowerPoint and then apply the template later, make it so that you can pick a template that fits your design. I'll go with this blue one, and then after you select the design, going into an individual slide will present you with alterations you can make, making the images bigger and changing the background. Like I said earlier, the PowerPoint should be a tool that you use to give a verbal presentation. This means keep the text on the screen to a minimum. For example, in this history column, I have the year or time followed by a small description of what happens. That way, whenever I'm actually giving the presentation, instead of just reading 1990, Tim Wu names net neutrality, I could say, in 1990, the professor at Columbia University, Tim Wu, came up with the name net neutrality to describe the way that the internet operated under ARPANET. But if I wrote all of that out, the slide would become congested and hard to read. Make sure that you keep the text on the slides to a minimum and that you keep images there to maintain interest. Another way to maintain flow and interest between your slides is to create it as if you were writing an essay. This means you'll have an introduction, multiple bodies, and a conclusion. If you know where you're going to end up, and you know where you started, and you know what you're going to talk about in the middle, you won't even need to look at the PowerPoint to get from point A to point B. This means that whenever you're actually making your PowerPoint, don't write the PowerPoint and then write your notes from this. Write your notes and then make the PowerPoint to complement your notes while you're speaking to the class. The last thing I will leave you with as far as PowerPoint goes is how to actually present your slides. Move to the Slideshow tab on the ribbon and click Start from Beginning to bring up the presentation as a full screen window. While you're here, you can transition to the next slide by either hitting the spacebar or clicking the screen. If you're presenting in class at Salle, there may be a small remote near the computer to let you walk around the room while also transitioning slides using the forward button. If you're using an online software, such as Panopto, which will be covered in the next video, you'll be able to see the slides and yourself on your computer screen. You'll be able to transition using the on-screen controls there, but be sure to turn into the next video to learn how to do that. A good practice while using a PowerPoint to supplement your presentation is to have a mental note about what's coming up next. For example, if I was introducing this presentation, I would say, "Hello everyone, and welcome to the LaSalle Project number 1 on net neutrality. I'm Jakob Eiseman, and today I will be talking to you about the pros and cons of net neutrality, the history of it, what it is, and how you can help. We'll start by going over some pros and cons. Then, you'll transition to the pros and cons tab, give your presentation on this in full, and then, while you're thinking about the end in the cons, you'll be thinking, the next slide is, what is net neutrality? And it starts with the history. So while you're getting towards the end of it, you'll want to keep that in mind, get your hand ready on the spacebar and say, the cons are, it'll give less money to the ISPs, it limits direct competition between services like Netflix and Hulu, and it could cause political controversy. But next, we'll talk about the history of net neutrality and how exactly it came to be. Then transition to the next slide. If you keep in mind what you already talked about and what you will be talking about next, you'll always know when to transition to have the most effective presentation for your class. Again, thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed making your PowerPoint a little bit, and I hope you learned some lessons that'll help you make more professional PowerPoints for your classes in the future. Make sure that you save the example PowerPoint we made today, because in the next video, we'll be talking about Panopto, an online resource available to you through LaSalle that lets you present your PowerPoints to your class in a mixed or online learning environment.